Thanks for joining us at xm.com for this Forex Preview video. We'll be having a look at the policy meeting by the Reserve Bank of New Zealand and, of course, the outlook for the Kiwi. I'm Christina Marujos. Joining me today is Senior Investment Analyst Rafi Boyadjian. The RBNZ is holding its first policy meeting for the year, and investors are curious whether policymakers will have any changes in store. Economic data out of the country have been solid lately, and New Zealand is admittedly doing a great job in containing the virus situation. Therefore, what signals are we likely to get early on Wednesday?
Well, Christina, it's almost certain that the RBNZ will keep monetary policy unchanged. Now, back in November, they did sound notably less dovish, and that's because recent data has been much better than expected. Even after those lockdowns in late summer in September, output didn't decline as much as the first lockdown. And overall, New Zealand has been doing a pretty good job of containing the virus because they've been quick to respond to this discovery of new clusters. And although Auckland, New Zealand's largest city, was in lockdown recently, that lockdown lasted for just a few days. Now, looking at the data, inflation is still below target, and the jobless rate, although it did fall in the fourth quarter, it's likely to stay elevated and could even begin to rise again because, of course, of those ongoing travel restrictions. So the quarterly forecast, so the RBNZ will publish its quarterly monetary policy report. They could reflect the fact that inflation and the jobless rate are likely to stay well off the RBNZ's targets, but at the same time, the RBNZ is likely to revise up its growth forecasts. So even if the RBNZ is able to justify keeping monetary policy accommodative for the foreseeable future, it's going to be difficult for the RBNZ to convince markets that negative rates are still on the table. We also have a booming housing market in New Zealand, and that's another reason why negative rates are looking pretty unlikely, and even not just negative rates, but say further reductions in the cash rate to something closer to 0%, like 0.1%, that the RBA recently cut its rates to.
Now, let's turn to the Kiwi. We saw it gaining earlier last week on the dollar weakness. Could the RBNZ policy meeting provide some further support to the currency, or will it continue to take its cues from the overall risk sentiment in markets?
Well, the RBNZ definitely has a fine line to walk, because if they sound too optimistic, that could push the Kiwi, and not just the Kiwi, but New Zealand government bond yields, they could be pushed up even further. So they will try to sound as cautious as possible, and we might also get some comments from Governor Orr or other policymakers to try and talk down the New Zealand dollar, because it did surge last week against the US dollar. So that's a possible risk, but overall it will be hard to make a significant dent in the Kiwi's latest upswing, given all the optimism around vaccinations and, of course, New Zealand's relative economic outperformance. So all of that is boosting commodity prices, which are positive for New Zealand's exports. So the outlook for the Kiwi is quite bullish indeed.
Rafi, thank you for joining me today. This was a Forex Preview on the RBNZ policy meeting on Wednesday and the outlook for the Kiwi. Thanks for watching at xm.com.